welcome guys to another little tutorial. Now, you haven't seen me make a video in a while, and it's because some jaw jack person went and stole my hard drive out of my computer. So, yeah, that was really great. But, as always, life, improvise, and key to, the whole victory thing, we prevail. Never give up. Okay? So, I took a look at our Canon script here. Okay? And I was having problems with the uh, Canon's actual physics problem. Okay? And the thing about it was, it wasn't really wanting to do what I wanted. As in, like, I would get my transform out here and come in, and then it wouldn't detect it at all from the range. And I found out why after I did a huge amount of debugging, and you could see the physics isn't actually that bad. I mean, it's up there. There's a garbage collection, scripts, rendering, other GI, but the physics, it's there, but it's not really super heavy. So I guess on the CPU wise, the rendering rise, it's that kind of thing. Object count, we've got our stuff, active rigid bodies, and all that stuff. So it should do very well in physics calculations anyway. I mean, the longest thing there is for this is waiting for FPS, frames per second. Physics processing is next, which has got 2 calls, and it's like, and I've got not a very good setup for it anyway, and it's going like that. So I I figure, you have a little better of a system or whatnot, it'll probably perform just like you want. Not a big deal. And this is using actual physical bullets too. Okay. Which I don't have the physical bullet yet collide with anything. But it's got a rigid body and a collider and all that. So our script right here for the bullet, it would be nothing to go in here, and matter of fact, I'm just gonna do it. Okay. We are going to go into here, steal this, so we don't misspell something, and then something like this as well. Okay, we'll go into the bullet, and we will put something like this. We're not overwriting, it's just a regular void, and it's on collision enter. Not a big deal. Col.collider, enemy tag, and we can go up to here and just put a public string. I mean, not a big deal. Oh. And then this equal, let's put a string in here of enemy by default. Because you always need a default value. And this translate thing, you could always put this lerp and, do something with lerping it a little bit down or something for fall off. But this is just a basic bullet script. I mean, on collision enter, we debug.log, and this we need for it to do a functionality here. And when it does this, what we are going to do is just this dot game object. Actually, we're just going to call our function here fix bullet. Okay, because that ultimately that's what we're doing, right? Sounds legit to me. Fix bullet. Okay, so we'll go into Unity here and we'll just undo this thing so it'll do the clicky clicky thing or whatever you want to call it. Compile. So we don't get no null references or something really weird because recompiling. And it goes into here, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. Phrasing error. What? Object full. Oh, probably because we have extra stuff in here. Yeah. And that closes that, but we don't close the function, the script itself. So there we go. Cool stuff like that. And this should work relatively good now. And the reason why you couldn't do that calculation like in Two Towers, like when we were right here, all col else if greater than, is because this is update, and then the physics works on a different type of physics step. Now you can probably manipulate the step time and everything else, but what would happen would be you get the collision from our triggers would interfere with the update. So basically, it wouldn't call certain functions in here anyway. In theory, it would work just fine, but it wouldn't do it because the physics calculation goes either faster or slower. I think it all depends on your frames per second and other types of stuff, your CPU and things. But and I moved the aim calculation down here, okay, because I didn't see the point of, okay, this is the range. All right, it's calculating, blah blah blah. We do the targeting, okay, and the targeting does the aim. If we never aim, I never seen the reason why I had this on a different branch, because this should be within the angle that we need, okay, and then we should do the firing time, instead of doing these on two separate things. Now this is kind of like a nested if, like if this if doesn't work, this never runs, and then my firing never runs, and the firing gets simpler because we're just doing this. Now I don't have a muzzle flash on it yet, so I commented it out so that I don't get errors. But the thing is, I put this I instead of doing another loop because every turn hardpoint I look for you to have a muzzle flash. I mean, it makes sense to me, but it's so simple that you can manipulate this all you want. Now, our triggering. Now, a lot of people say I see a lot of solutions doing on trigger stay. Well, the problem is, if I use on trigger stay, it uses the physics engine, okay? When all we're doing is getting a tagging right there. So the physics engine calculation could be faster than update or vice versa. It goes on the physics part of it, which if you're on mobile, you want the least amount of physics as possible. I mean, physics is expensive. On PC, it wouldn't be a problem, but if you're on a mobile platform, it's very problematic, and you try to stay away from it as much as possible, and you just try to fake it as much as you can, which is fine because that's part of the limitations on a mobile device. That and your rendering and stuff, because the less physics you can use, you can probably push it out to more rendering or vice versa, or however you want to look at it. And besides, we're only getting a tag. Boom, tag. And this is a string. You could hard code this in, but I put it as a public up here because, well, in the inspector, I don't even care. I mean, if you want to hack in there and change the tag to turn and blow up all your other turrets, go for it. I don't care. You're ruining your own game experience. So that's how I look at it. But for our purposes, yeah, it's probably okay. Now we've got our pool manager. I did see an error that I may not have done in our pool managing script. Right down here, instead of true right here, I had more. Okay, and because of this, my actual pooling script would not work correctly unless I had this true. And I didn't notice it, and you guys probably screamed on it in the video. If you noticed it, great job to you. But yeah, this has to be true because we're placing the position, the rotation, and everything the way we want it in this vector. So, and we're getting the prefab that we want and all that good stuff. And in our pool system, I had, I don't think I had a problem here, but I think I did. Oh well. But anyway, yeah, those were a few things, and I tried to put everything that I had back in, because some of this is from a backup that I had, and some of it's not, so hopefully it works good. And I repopulated all this. Now this range, then start, always make sure this is like zeroed out. Because if you have it higher, the collision and other stuff, it messes with it. So I'm probably going to put this hide and inspector and by default equals 0 or something. But now it works correctly the way we want. So I can start this, he'll see it, and he'll start firing at him. And he'll fire and all that cool stuff. Okay, and I enter, and he goes back to firing. Okay, so each time I enter and exit, that's my physics being called up. So in a game like this, you're going to have a lot of physics objects. And this computer is not all that great. And look, I'm getting this many frames a second. Alright. I mean, vertical down, and we're shooting and everything. I mean, it jumps and stuff, but, and shadows, make sure you turn your shadows off on your bullets, because it's kind of dumb to have shadows for a bullet. Because look, you can barely see it go by. Boom, boom. And I put my test dummy thing for the cube. All you have to do to get your turret to fire is put your enemy tag, whatever you put as that string, in your tags. Okay, and then tag it that. But it does have to have a rigid body. If you do not have a rigid body, here's what happens. You remove it, and it will not detect it no more. Okay? Because on collision enter requires a collider and a rigid body, because you're calling up physics. Okay? Now, there's two types of physics. Okay? There is two types of physics. Alright? One physics is, and I will bring this up, my lovely channel, in the mono. And make sure you guys always look at this kind of stuff, because this will bite you in the behind. See, there's on collision enter. This is for on collision enter is called when the collider / rigid body begins touching another rigid body / collider. And it's on collision enter. Okay. Now for the collision, there's a 2D version. Okay, if you're in a 2D game, you should use this. And we'll use a collision 2D. Now, you're thinking, well, what's going on with the rigid body? Well, here's the thing. When you go into your rigid body for the collision, instead of this rigid body, you will have physics 2D. Okay? And this is very important. You'll have your physics 2D rigid body, and you'll have to have some type of collider because it's wanting a collider for the collision detection. They're both required. See, watch. I take this off here and I remove the collider. Okay? Because on trigger enter and exit, it only triggers one time. If I exit, okay, it's still detecting it because it doesn't get the calls from in and out. But if I go up to turn and just null out this, okay, now I'm looking at my cube. Well, even though I've got the rigid body here, it cannot detect him because he does not have a collider. It's detecting collision. So that's between the difference between the rigid body in 3D space and 2D. Now, I have made a recent changes and stuff to our 2D pool manager, okay? Our world builder thing. Now, I've got a new sprite, okay? And all it is a new sprite, and everything's on there, you know, just like so, okay? And what this will do is just build us a world, okay? And where did I put that? Where did I put that script? Okay, 2D world. And it's exactly the way it was before. We got this temp, which is our vector, and we're timesing it by spaces, okay, which is an integer, which is times by 10 for, you'll have to make sure all your sprites for floors and stuff are all the same, which most likely they are, but we don't care about the rotation because, you know, it's 2D, and we just call it up like that. Okay, and I do this in on enable as well. We got our int and width. I don't think I actually, do I use that? Temp.x, temp.y, yeah. Temp. I don't think I actually do. Oh, yeah, I use it for the loops. Okay, so what this will do is it will build us a 2D world. Okay. Now I haven't done anything else with it, but it will build us a 2D world. See, 2D world. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it just keeps going on and on and on. Okay, and it doesn't overlap or nothing silly like that. So it builds us our 2D world. It's all parented and everything else. But it's not pretty or anything just because I haven't done anything with it. And you don't need a canvas for that world right there. Okay? So, just so you know. So, let's see. I went over the pooler. I went over the canon changes, which makes it really simple. I mean, this is our update. If we got a target, boom. And this update is actually cheaper than using the on trigger stay. Okay, because we're not just destroying everything. Because, well, I just don't want the physics to be called up as much like that because it's just crazy to call it up as fast as it does. I mean, it's like an update, but like a lot heavier. So that's the reason why I did this. And we got this target check. What do I actually use this target check for? Target check equals base. What's this target check for? Vector. What's the target check for? Okay, we got cannon. Okay. I have absolutely no clue what that's for. Okay, so since we don't know what it's for, here's the easiest way to figure it out. Go up here, do your target check, where it starts, and just save and watch the errors come by. Because it's stupid to sit there and keep looking and looking and looking. Okay, so we have these errors. Alright, cannon, 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 and they look to all be the same line. Okay. Target check. Okay, that's legit. This one. Target check is for our angle position. So it's actually legit. So we actually use it. Now, this aim skill, I'm going to put a default of 8F. It seemed like a good default. And the max range, I'm going to go to a 30F. Seems like a good default. Okay. And there you are. Now, for the small amount of consistency, because I've got this weird thing, and I think it's going to happen as well, is we've got our update. If the range is less than max range, okay, then it's never calculated. Actually, yes, it is calculated because it's outside. That's one reason why I put this outside of this if statement. Okay, which actually, believe it or not, it can be up here before this if statement. Okay, to make more sense to you guys. And it makes more sense to me to have it that way because it just does. I don't know why. Because we're calculating the range on the target, which the target's never null because of this part right here. So we'll never get an error by this thing right here. So we're doing the range, and then we have the range checker here, which is all good. We don't need this. Actually, we may need that. I was getting collision problems when I was turning the collider on and off. See, that bug that I found where it wasn't doing what I wanted in the first place, it could work out to be a better thing. I'll have to test that in theory. Because if I can turn the collider off when we have a target, and then when you exit right here, we turn the collider back on. No, I can't do that. I still need a range check. Ooh, yeah, that's right. Range check. That might have been, yeah, that range check was a problem, I think. Oh well. It'll be okay. We're only entering an exit. And you'll probably have a lot of towers anyway. Which, in your tower script and your project, you can go into your project settings, and you can go under physics right here. Okay? And each layer, you can filter out a certain you can filter out your you can have a layer for enemies and a layer for towers, and you can filter out a lot of stuff. Okay, not just, you can basically make your triggers only react to one specific layer, which will be your enemy layer most likely. Okay, and your enemy layer can only interact with your tower layer. So every single time bullets fly by and stuff like that, they're completely ignored by the physics engine. Okay, so you get no hit queries. You know, you're not like stalling up your physics because everything's colliding with the trigger. Okay, so you have that filtering system there, and I don't know. I haven't went through it with a video yet, so I, and that video will be dedicated to that by itself. I mean, that is perfectly a legit thing for like a whole half-hour video over it. So that's something that is on the way, on the plans for stuff. And this tower editor for things, I plan on doing a lot more with it since my computer's up and running again. And we will probably most likely do some XML stuff again, where we will be building towers based on a certain thing, because this is my goal for this tower game. This tower game, I am only going to make one level myself, okay? But I'm going to give access in a file where you can push it out to a string, and each string will be part of an XML file that will have all the game objects of the level, you know, maybe the floor, textures, name, things like that. So basically, you can just keep on making XML files and make more levels yourself. But the really cool thing that I'm thinking about doing is I plan on making this project where you can take and create asset bundles and import them into this project. Basically, to give the end user a level editor of their own, where they can level edit themselves, place enemies where they want, and, you know, just basically get you guys in the community involved. And that's one of my goals, because the more I get content out there that you guys can create for, the better I think the longevity of the project will be. Because this tower right here is very simple, okay? I can create a asset bundle for it where, okay, if it's a tower, you have a model. Well, like in our other project, it can be a go position. Okay, well, the go position, you know, have this, because this is a cannon. Okay, that's a cannon. Fine. Well, for each cannon, you're going to have a model, right? Well, I can have it transform.find child and match up the head transform and the body transform. I can just do it right here. So when you guys create a model, this is just empty. You already know that. This just has the fundamental, the information that you want. Okay, the head is actually the model. Okay, it's actually the mesh renderer and stuff. It's what you see. So, and it's just in a 0 position, in a 0 position, you know. You create it just like you need, and this can just be a prefab by itself. This be a prefab of what you want for the cannon, and then just this model information below it. Okay, so basically we can import a model off of an asset bundle and give people the ability to just string it out to what we want, right? And that gives us our towers. Well, what about the levels? The levels are nothing but a bunch of game objects. We have already looked at instantiating towers from a save file. It's no different to do a tower to game objects for levels. You take you a nice wall. Hey, put your we've got base.save. Yeah. What to do? The save type. Go to definition. Our save type is simple. Save tower. Go to definition. It's just a class, which is a vector 3. Which by default we put 0, but we pass in a vector. And then the name, which is null by default. Well, guess what? All you'd have to do is slap a position in there, and you're good to go. You'll get the name of the prefab, which you can use for resource.load or an asset load asset bundle. Asset bundles use strings, so you can just use it from an asset bundle. And there you are. You get all the functionality that you need with little to no work. So I think this video has gone long enough. And thank you guys for watching, and take care. So peace, and hope this helps you. So, but like, share, subscribe, do the YouTube stuff, and peace.